Guys, I've been watching K-pop Demon Hunters on loop, studying it, dissecting, and these are my thoughts. When a movie is not just great but needed, everything in that movie is important because it becomes part of a performance, a place where internal and external meet. This is like a battle or a life debate where ideas are presented and hunted down. K-pop Demon Hunters is a movie that chases souls caught between devotion, deception, and a little romance. A battlefield shaped by idols, fandom, industry, and that all reflects our best and worst qualities, because at the end of the day, art is always a reflection of us. Demon Hunters reveals how fandoms come for your souls directly, becoming tools for higher powers that be. The story shows where the lines between self and performance, truth and show, become unclear for the sake of creating value. It challenges these concepts with the power of love, creating a safe space where mature themes that are slightly charged are explored for a young audience in an honest way. The movie respects your sense of awareness, naturally letting you space out into it, and lets you feel and nerd out about the wonderful world of K-pop, but also holds your hand along the ride. A ride with our three hunters who get it done. K-pop the Machine, like the movie itself, is like a handcrafted performance, carefully scripted not just by the idols themselves but by the machine. A machine that doesn't care about you, only cares about profits. This performance of masculinity for a female audience is like a mermaid call. Behind the lights lies a stage where reality and performance merge, creating an art form that's both beautiful and an actual fantasy. This fantasy creates a really unique escape but comes at a heavy cost. Nothing big, just the degradation of human authenticity. But anywho, K-pop is a spectacle based on human dynamics, which is foundation set on unrealistic expectation at its core. To me, their job is inflating the value of their illusions to sell you back empty calories, like the WWE for girls on a global scale. As the world becomes more modern, people begin to share things more fluently. As time passes, it becomes easier to share ideas and culture from other countries. We call this globalization, connecting the world in faster and better ways. This is both good and bad as we get more art, but also enable competitive, invasive business models. In K-pop's case, monetizing women's emotional desire for longing, connection, and romantic partnership. K-pop idols are more than entertainers. They function as false idols or seductive figures of devotion that promise emotional closeness while masking a profit-driven agenda. This is because they're products, and all products aren't organic, they're engineered. Idols are strategically elevated to near divine status within fandom culture, transforming them into hyper-lucrative emotional commodities. Their idealized personas aren't just meant to be adored, but worshipped, and the movie puts this idea up to our face. The Demon King Guillaume? I call him the devil, which is a way that the movie explores the themes of the soul and what fandoms sometimes depend from us in order to make money. The movie carries themes of resisting the enchantment of the K-pop machine, which in today's world appears almost mythological. This is why the movie feels so honest to me, as it tries to show the darkest side of K-pop as not just an art but a form of control, walking in the middle of critical thinking and vibing. Along with the pop music never too heavy, so are fandoms coming for your souls? No, but for the sake of intellectual honesty, they kinda are. To be a fan in this industry requires more than interest, it demands allegiance. What I've observed isn't just loyalty, but an intense form of emotional investment that blurs the line with identity and ideology. Fandom becomes its own ecosystem, a collective self that polices opinions, idealizes perfection, and attacks critique in a defense of something that feels personal, but is kind of entirely fake. At the center of this structure are young women encouraged, even conditioned, to intertwine their identity with stan culture. The business model doesn't just sell music, it engineers emotional architecture, designed to form patterns around a girl's worst addiction, hot guys. Because this is a performance, it looks for the right ratio of innocence and attraction and balance, creating what I call the devil's harmony for parasocial obsession or creating idols. K-pop in particular refines this to an art form, constructing an idealized male-female dynamic that sets a false baseline for reality, and this fantasy isn't random. It's meticulous These idols are blueprints, not just performance, refining behavioral patterns that shape emotional expectations, relationships, and coping mechanisms in real life. What's being sold isn't just music or image, it's dependence. This is capitalism in its most intimate form, mass producing female targeted emotional narratives for global consumption. It's both art and enterprise where artistic intent is secondary to engineered response. This is why the Demon Hunter matters, not as a rejection of pop culture, but as a metaphor for resistance, someone who sees through the design behind the desire. The problem isn't that it's fake, it's that it's so good at feeling real, the industry doesn't reflect patterns, it creates them. They teach us to call this truth. But with social media becoming more and more integrated, people are expected to balance personas and personal identity as good as walking a tightrope. This feeds into fandoms themselves. Through self-possession, the movie encourages girls to reclaim their gaze, find real expression, and step outside the idol illusion by taking its power back. Taking back their own identity, not as fans but as hunters instead. The movie creates a narrative around these core concepts and gives girls a safe space to engage with these charged topics in a way that is both intellectually honest and non-judgmental. It does this with three main characters, each representing an avatar for the audience, alternate personas, and that reflects internal or external, challenging the standard. Again, these are all my personal opinions, but I feel like if it was up to K-pop, your identity would consist entirely out of this performance, leaving no room for the self that once housed your body. Meaning you are now entirely codependent on this weird industry as opposed to regular life. The K-pop hunter, like a blade, they are expected to both understand and appreciate, but both also comprehend the hidden pitfalls in the process, becoming like antibodies. The songs are really good, rich with sort of meaning that acts as a pull and push between the struggle of enjoying something and not letting it consume you. This musical aspect of the movie, along with the great pacing, results in a cultural juggernaut fueled by the very thing that gives K-pop its power, and flipping it. Yes, this movie is K-pop, but it's also a musical about truth, drama, love, and the war over women's hearts. Patterns being a metaphor for coping, which metaphorically are stand-ins for the soul. Instead of painting K-pop or fandom purely as toxic or manipulative, we must recognize why these things work. So what's the duality? The K-pop space is very charged, acting as the edge of love and war. It hooks you in with all the pretty things it offers. Like Liquid Nitrogen would take warm, messy living culture and compress it until it's so pure, not with heat but with coldness, that we chill experiences into spectacles. The raw becomes rarefied and the natural becomes product. A cultural compression and distillation process always happens with art in a capitalist world, where ideas, experiences, or phenomena from original life are extracted from their natural, slow, and communal form, condensed into an intensified, pure version, and that is packaged and sold back in a way that's heightened, desired, or sometimes addictive. This applies to sugar, salt, and boy bands. Curated, polished, market tested, and turned into emotional bait. This is what I in the movie refers to as demons. Emotional capitalism meets cultural engineering, or as Kanye West would put it, the devil wears a new dress. Where purity is less about truth and more about marketability. The act of compressing and purifying cultural elements into distilled marketable products that cool or chill society comes at a cost. The illusion of natural achieved through manufacture means sold back to consumers hungry for authenticity, while real authenticity becomes like vegetables to our taste buds. Modern purity is the coolant of culture. We compress the raw, wild heat of human experience into slick, consumable versions, freezing moments into products and selling back the chill. Fandoms can be intense, even toxic, but for many girls, the space is not passive consumption. It's an active negotiation of identity, belonging, and empowerment. The movie recognizes this tension and honors the intelligence of girls to feel, question, and process. It doesn't mock their obsession. It gives them weight, because in anything there's meaning. And K-pop Demon Hunters understands all this. It creates a language that allows exploration, fantasy, and control, taking back the old formats and reusing them as fuel, creating a coming-of-age story for anybody wishing to be golden.
The film transcends from its core audience as it doesn't just deconstruct the K-pop dream, it sings its language. So yeah, 10 out of 10, Zeitgeist masterpiece. Here's a Labubu. Like always, thank you for your time and stay safe. And yeah, I'll be back someday.